thanks for joining us. I'm Mitchell Ringos. Well, Sistonen's Corner has seen another crash involving a transport that closed Highway 102 in both directions for multiple hours today and sent one person to hospital. At approximately 3:20 p.m. today, the Ontario Provincial Police closed all lanes of Highway 102 at the junction of Highway 1117 due to a collision between a van and a transport. Eyewitnesses say the transport went through the stop sign at the end of Highway 102 while the van was heading westbound from 1117. Fortunately, there were no fatalities, but the 61-year-old female driver of the van was sent to hospital with a leg injury. The highway has since reopened. Thunder Bay City Council will vote on Monday on whether to adopt a human rights-based approach in responding to unsheltered homelessness. If approved, it would add a $20,000 expansion to the 2024 budget, but officials say it addresses many of the city's strategic plans. The new approach comes with an encampment response protocol that would see community partners creating care plans for the unsheltered and connecting them to stable housing. There's also a focus on consultation with those living in encampments and Indigenous leaders. Elevate NWO has been working directly with the homeless to connect them to housing. Executive Director Holly Govan says consultation is crucial moving forward.
This issue is disproportionately impacting Indigenous people. And so for us to go out and to make big, grandiose plans without proper consultation is to set things up to fail, and most importantly, to set those people who we're trying to serve up to fail. And so I was really encouraged to see that language was front and center in this report.
Also tomorrow night, Council will hear a first quarter budget variance update. The memo mentions a $500,000 estimated deficit, equating to 0.2% of the total city budget. Thunder Bay nurses held an information rally at Inner City Shopping Centre this afternoon to call for improved wages and better staffing ratios, which will allow them to provide better care for their patients. This comes after the Ontario Nurses Association's negotiations for a new contract with the Ontario Hospital Association ended without an agreement, leaving the parties heading to arbitration. Today's local rally was one of many province-wide demonstrations. Nurses were out showing their support for the approximately 60,000 hospital sector registered nurses and healthcare professionals in the province. The group also had petitions in hand, providing information on what they believe will improve staffing ratios and patient care. This includes better working conditions and fair compensation, which will help retain current nurses and recruit back those who left. ONA Local 73 Bargaining Unit President Donna Wheel says it will be tremendous seeing so many local nurses show their support, and she hopes the community will voice their support as well.
It's great. When nurses come together, we're really usually not outside voice kind of people, and the times have become so much that nurses are now becoming more vocal in Thunder Bay. I hope they think that nurses are there as patient advocates, that we want the best care for Thunder Bay residents, and that we know that there is a need for the government not to privatize healthcare, and that they start to think about these matters so that they actually put their voices out as well.
Students in KI are finally heading to class in the First Nations brand new school. The remote community on Big Trout Lake received $42 million in federal funding to build the school back in 2019. And although COVID set back the project a year and a half behind schedule, class is now in session. Lee Noonan has more.
Construction of the Aglis Chapman Education Center in Kitchener-Mekootsib-Niniwug was completed in the fall, and students finally started attending class there in January. The new school goes from kindergarten all the way to grade 12, and this year's grade 10 graduates will be the first in the community's history who can now stay for grade 11.
It just gives us the luxury of to keep our kids another an extra 2 years rather than sending them out when they're 14. Give them 2 more years to get grade 12 and more experience in life.
There are nearly 600 kids living in the community, including Arthur Beardy. He's impressed by the sheer size of the new school.
It's a lot greater, I would say. Just big. That's all I can say.
Beardy says he's most excited by the new teaching facilities like the music room and woodshop. Something that's also important to Chief Morris, who hopes the students will get a leg up when it comes to future employment.
because this school doesn't have the woodworking, the science room, the electrical. It didn't have that, eh? But this new school, it has those facilities, so it'll give them more of a trades environment when they go to school.
Like many his age, Beardy's favorite class is gym, and he's not sure which of the new facilities he's most excited about. He's not even sure whether he might prefer to leave the community to finish high school.
Is wow, going to a new school. You meet new people, you meet yeah, just tons of new stuff, but also you're just leaving stuff behind as well.
But Morris says that parents in the First Nation feel reassured to know that their kids are safe at home. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford has announced more than $500,000 in funding to KI First Nation for winter road upgrades and a bridge repair. It's part of a $5 million investment budgeted by the province to shore up the winter road network. Rickford made the announcement in KI alongside Chief Donnie Morris. The work on the bridge, which crosses the Fawn River, will make it safer to travel the winter roads, which circle around Big Trout Lake, before winding down towards Kingfisher Lake more than 80 kilometers to the south.
We're here to announce more than $500,000 to the Nanuik Bridge rehabilitation. The Chief has mentioned that there's other infrastructure that we need to address, and we look forward to doing that. We've allocated an additional $5 million to the winter road network because we recognize increasingly that they're going to need constant upgrading, and obviously with climate change, the roads require some reconfiguration and additional support.
As you mentioned, climate change, it's something to be taken seriously. So these bridges will have an impact on us traveling out earlier and hauling heavier stuff.
The upgrades ring in at $571,000. Rickford calls the winter road network a vital link for remote communities. Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa questioned the Minister of Indigenous Affairs, Greg Rickford, about what the government is doing to help the housing crisis across northwestern Ontario. Mamakwa also shed light on the addiction crisis sweeping across the territory, stating that many Indigenous people often have to go out to urban centres for help. Mamakwa urged the government to take these issues seriously, as these factors often contribute to unnecessary deaths.
In the north, we have a crisis of people without homes in Kenora and across northwestern Ontario. Without 24/7 support, there will be more needless deaths of First Nations people living outside. What is this government doing to give municipalities and advocates the resources they need to help people without homes?
The urgent need for adequate housing to meet the basic needs of many First Nations who are moving from their communities into towns and cities like Kenora, like Dryden, and like Sioux Lookout. And that's why we invested significant resources, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that the homeless prevention program moving forward provides those additional housing.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry has extended the deadline to apply to become a fire ranger. New recruits may also be eligible to be reimbursed for the cost of their basic training. It's all part of an effort to attract more people to the profession. MNRF Fire Information Officer Chris Marchand notes attracting candidates has become more of a challenge in recent years. He hopes removing a financial barrier will help draw more people into a wildland firefighting career.
Like any other employer, it's a very competitive job market at the moment, and we're certainly not alone in experiencing that issue. And so we're doing what we can to generate interest and to make it easy for people to consider working a summer in wildland firefighting.
The Fire Ranger application deadline has been pushed to May 15th, a month later than usual. More information is available on the MNRF website. We're now joined